Hi, I'm Tina, and welcome to the Divine Joy Circle. And thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join me here today. And I'm delighted to be welcoming a very special guest to our Joyful Connections interview series. And this is Aodaoin Hathaway, and joining me all the way from Ireland. Welcome, Aodaoin.
Hi, Tina. So happy to be here.
Yeah,
Part
it's
of
so nice,
the
huh?
Joyful Connections. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Lovely way to start the day. It's a lovely way to start the day.
Beautiful. I would love for you to share a little bit about how your company is called Dances with Dragons, and it's such a juicy name, and how that came into being.
Well, it has been a bit of a journey, as you know, as you've been there for most of it. But I would think that in its current incarnation, it really has sort of come together in the last year. Which has been with bringing the vibrational essences that I am co-creating out into the world and letting them fly out. Mm-hmm. And also with introducing some new energy work offerings. But it has gone through several different incarnations. I think the very first time I came up with the name was actually during one of the 90 days programs with you. So that was a couple of years ago now. And at that time it was just, it seemed a very, a very joyful idea, and I wasn't entirely sure that I could manifest that. And yet here we are.
Yes.
It really is. It's really been a fabulous year since moving back here to Ireland from the US. I had a lovely, lovely time in the United States for many years, and fabulous people. As you know, I met my husband and my two beautiful stepchildren, and we brought back our own little boy here. So it's been a lovely, lovely journey. And I look forward to where it's going next.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's so nice. So for anyone who has not met you before, they may be wondering, Dances with Dragons. I mean, as I said, it's such an unusual name. What is your affinity with that, and how does that reflect letting joy be your guide in your business and everyday life?
Well, I've always had a very, very strong connection with the elemental world, and especially with dragons. As a child, I always found it a little annoying that the dragons were always the bad guy, and she'd go slay the dragon. I mean, I found that kind of, offensive is a strong word to use for a child, but I was frustrated by it. And, I had a very strong connection with nature, and I living here, I didn't realize how lucky I was to grow up surrounded by so much greenery, and when I moved to New York, that was a big shock to my system. But again, I was always very lucky to be near a park, so I could go there and connect with nature and with the elementals, which have always been such a sort of integral part of my being that it took me a while to realize that not everybody else has that connection. Mm-hmm. Because for me it's so just sort of part of my core being. And the dragons especially have always been there. I've always had dragon guides. I've always called on them for help and support. And so when the name came to me, it seemed to sort of encapsulate so much of my experience with the dragons and the elementals. I do feel like they have such a joy and a pristine quality of that joy and light in their beings, that when you are connecting with them, you feel that feeling of dancing, of just joy in movement and light. So that really felt like a very sort of important part of the business, that even when you see the name, that is what you an image, because you can't help but have that image when you read it. Dances with Dragons. Well, these joyful, and to me also it brings in a different aspect of, maybe people think of dragons as big fire-breathing monster types, which they can be if they need to be in the moment, but they hold so much light, as all the elemental beings do. Just like the angels, to me, they are very much a part of the same realm. I don't really see a distinction, a difference, a sort of hierarchy, shall we say. Yeah, so that was kind of how the name came about.
It's so fun, isn't it? Because oftentimes you hear the name, oh, what the hell, that came into being now. Yeah, and it feels to me like that name just really captures that magical essence within you, that loves to bring the magic into every day and to really connect people with the magic of nature.
And that was another part that came, the sort of be the magic you came here to be, And again, I think a lot of people have an idea of magic as being sort of a bit like Harry Potter or something. I mean, I love Harry Potter, but the sort of the wave the magic wand and do the spells. But even in those books, you see that the true magic that she is bringing forward is the magic of simply being. Being the person that you, being the essence of what you came here to be. And so that for me is sort of the underlying. It's not really the pinpoint of it, but it's always there, no matter what essence I'm co-creating, or if I'm supporting someone with a healing experience. It's how can you bring in the magic to your life that allows you to really embody that magic,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share with us a little bit about what happens when you go into the creation phase of bringing the essences into the world. So speaking of essences,
yes,
how was that? How does that work?
Well, it's funny because sometimes it's very planned, in that I, because especially here, it can be a little weather dependent. Sometimes it's planned that, I know tomorrow is going to be a really nice day and I would like to go to this particular spot, I often will have been there before and feel very strongly guided to come back and make an essence. I generally try to have it be at a quiet time, because I find that a quiet time and a space where it's kind of off the public path. This is, that is especially what I have found with the flower and plant essences, and also the elemental ones, the elementals range, which is that I just walk until I'm guided to stop, and the first one or two times I did it, I thought, this is, I'm going to get lost. This is going to be weird. And then it's been a learning process of just trusting, For instance, I went one morning and I intended to Loch Gur, which is the nearby lake where I've co-created many essences. And I had intended that I would work with the Blackthorn tree there. But I had a couple of extra bottles with me because I was sort of guided to put those in my bag. And while we were there, I was called by this particular ivy plant. And I thought, I can't get to that ivy plant. It's way up there. It's on a rock, it's on a tree on a rock, But I did. I climbed up with all my stuff. And I sat with the plant, with the deva of the plant, and really tuned in. And I was there probably for about half an hour, so perched on this rock. And in that time, when I was climbing up, I was thinking, I'm never going to be able to get down. I'm just sitting here. But while I was sitting with the plant in that space, I've started to feel this great feeling, this great sense of trust, you know, this trust of being taken care of when I'm persevering with actions that maybe are a little challenging, you know. And sure enough, I didn't have to get back down the way I came. I found a different way back that was not visible from the ground, but I had to be up on the rock to see it, you know. So that was kind of cool, and that has been the message of the ivy, is just sort of trust that you will be taken care of when you're in need, and you're, you know, persevering with an action that's challenging, probably because of a pattern that's coming up. So yes, so that's been part of it, to find a quiet spot. For instance, the nurture essence with the elementals, the forest elementals. Again, I found a spot in the forest that was well off the path, just incredibly peaceful area, and sat down. And that is how nurture came into being. And I don't necessarily know before I start in fact, I don't know what the essence is going to be. My mind has no idea. So it's about trusting and sitting and asking the elementals to come and play. And then, you know, sort of trusting in the result, you know. And it has always been amazing, you know. There are some essences that have been created that will not, you know, that they're just for my use. They're not going to fly out into the world. But the ones that have are, you know, people really seem to like them and get a lot of benefit from them, you know.
So can you tell a little bit about some of the essences that you have? Do you have different series or different?
Yeah, so right now I have 3 different ranges, 3 different collections, I call them. The first one was the Sacred Sites collection, which was created last summer of 2015, in various sites, sacred areas in Ireland and in Glastonbury, actually. So there are 7 of those, and that was sort of my the first collection, you know. Again, when I was co-creating them with the environment and it was a beautiful experience, and I really had no intention that they would go public, you know. But they have, and they seem to be very happy to do that. There are 7 of those, and I suspect that there will be a Sacred Sites 2, perhaps another 7 upcoming. Then I have the sort of what I call the Green World collection, which are the ones that are flower and trees and plants, and there are 12 of those. Those are all co-created here in Ireland locally, either at Docker or Ballyhara Forest. And again, just a lot of fun working with them. And it's always interesting to see, you know, what are people drawn to. Some people feel very comfortable with the Green World ones because they're plants that they're familiar with, and that they love. So that for them, that is a very easy way to access the benefits of those essences. Others love the sacred sites. They feel a real affinity to those locations and that. And then the most recent one is the Elementals collection. And that was very interesting because when I started off with it, I sort of had in my head that we'd work, you know, I'd call in very specific elementals, you know, the water nymphs, that they would have very specific labels as such. And that is not at all how they wanted to do it. So it has been interesting because they simply wanted to be known as the earth elementals or the water elementals. And when I asked why that was, the answer that I was given was that because we have attached a lot of meanings to names. So someone may have a very specific, if I say the gnomes, you know, you have a very specific immediate picture in your head of what a gnome is, and you may go, you know, it's not really appealing to me. Where or you know, elf, you're like, oh yeah, maybe an elf, you know. And that is a lot of those names, those meanings, as you know, in this new cycle, are simply no longer relevant. And so it didn't feel right to bring that energy to this collection, this particular batch of essences. So what it has ended up as, that they do have names. They're flourish, strength, transformation, but the elementals that gifted them to us are known just as the fire elementals or the air elementals.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's fun, isn't it? Yeah. And so do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's so hard. It does depend on the week, you know, it does depend on the day, the moment. I think if we were looking at I was thinking about this, the of the flower and tree ones, for me, it's Blackthorn.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because I have it for the gift that essence brings is the gift of magic, the warrior magic, because it was traditionally used, the Blackthorn, as for that. And I have a lot of the warrior element in me. And it's about how can a warrior use her magic when she doesn't need to fight all the time. You know, how is that relevant now? And what tools, you know, how do we use those tools now in this new cycle? How is that magic stepping out of that old definition and moving into a new one? Mm-hmm. You know, that other people may have a different experience with Blackthorn, but that has been mine. And I do have a great fondness of I'm just looking at them here, the elemental range. Mm-hmm. Especially right now, I'm loving nurture from mm-hmm. the forest elementals. I think because of how, you know, the energies have been a little challenging for the last month or so. I mean, I feel like they're easing off a bit at this point, but I have found it's a beautiful essence to bring you into a space of feeling very nurtured, feeling very supported, and also noticing what actions do I need to take to support myself in feeling, you know, nurtured and balanced. So that has been one of my kind of go-to ones, which is interesting because I'm usually much more of a fire element girl. So, you know, for that, and also the flourish one, which is the lake, which is the water, another one that I've been reaching for a lot lately. Again, which, you know, I think goes with what has been, you know, happening sort of collectively.
It's so interesting because, you know, I've been house sitting for the last 18 months and I'm finding myself being guided to be in places oftentimes where I'd never even heard of before, and just knowing that I'm in the right place at the right time. And at the moment, I mean, right now I'm in the city and near the ocean. But I've also been on a longer stint where I'm actually amongst the trees and returning there soon. What's so interesting, it's like where you're talking about that nurture energy, being amongst the trees has felt like I needed all that extra grounding, nurturing, being in that stillness. The interesting thing was that over the last few months, I've had a few little trips to Perth and had to be by the ocean, or closer by there as well. And every time I come to the ocean, it's like, yes. As I hear you speak, and especially this last time coming back, I felt, wow, I feel topped up with nurturing now. And the impact of being by the ocean the other day was literally that flourish energy. So that's really fun. So what is the fire energy?
The fire energy is transformation. So that one, the fire elementals are very clear on that. There's no faffing about on that one. But it's interesting, the ocean elementals, which I co-created with the Atlantic Ocean here, which is actually empowerment, which I think
Oh,
is very cool. Yeah. So it was just interesting to see how the lake elementals felt different to the ocean ones, you know. Now, you know, there's of course a quality of flourishing in empowerment, but and that was one that we were going out for the day. It was a family day trip. And something said to me, just put your bottles in, you know, put your water and your bottles in. And so I did. I had them in the car, had them in the backpack, in a little bag, and found this, you know, perfect spot, totally deserted because we went early. And it was just amazing, just an incredible experience. Just exactly what you said, where you feel that sort of, oh, you know, this is me. It's lovely. It's lovely feeling. Yeah. So I absolutely get what you're saying about the ocean. It's so uplifting and fun to connect like this with the green world, with the elementals, with just the essence of who we are, what we're doing here, you know, it's fun, you know, it's a lot of fun.
And so from the ranges, the collections that you have so far, is there a favorite amongst clients around the world?
Yes, that would be the Pure Joy essence. Funnily enough.
Wow.
Which was co-created with Locker, which is really close by here. I'm so lucky. I can go there almost every day. And it has this amazingly magical quality. And that is just, it's very clearing in many ways. You know, if I'm feeling grumpy, I go over there and it's immediately shifted. And that is the essence. The day that I made, the day that this essence came into being was an unusually sunny day for Ireland. I will say, it was just absolutely gorgeous day. You know, blue skies, the lake was so still. And there was just such a feeling of joy. And so that was the day that essence came into being. And at the time, I did not, you know, I felt that feeling, but it was only afterwards tasting the essence and working with it, taking it for a few days, that I realized its true gift, which is, you know, just this joyful, uplifting, amazing feeling. And so that one has been very popular, which I think is lovely. I think it's lovely that people are drawn to that one, because that says something about what people are calling into their lives, you know, that they feel this need or this calling to joy. And that to me is incredible, that people would reach out for that as being a sort of crucial factor to their embodiment here, which it is. We know it is, but it's just lovely to see it flying out. So that one is very, very popular, and also the nurture, actually, that one also, which again I think is lovely. It's a fabulous gift to give to yourself, and as women, especially as women, not to be sort of dividing lines, but as women in women's bodies, we don't always tend to nurture ourselves. We tend to give a lot and put ourselves last. And so I think that's lovely that people are starting to sort of bring that frequency in of self-nurture.
Yeah, gorgeous. Wow. So if somebody wants to choose an essence, how do you recommend they go about it if they know nothing about this at all?
I always say go by the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Go by the picture, because I think you will be... Now, some people prefer to put in the words that they're, you know, how they would like to feel. That's something that you can do too. You know, I want to feel more XYZ, type those words in. Most websites will kick back to you then results with those essences. But for me, it's always go by the picture. See, what are you drawn to? And when you read the description, you will see why you were drawn to it, you know. And so that's why, for me, it's very important to have the visuals on the website, because I feel that's a key to people really tapping in, especially if you're not familiar with essences.
So that's one way. What's another way that they can go about finding out which essences are going to be of optimal support to their well-being?
As I say, you can type in the search words. You can look at the descriptions. You could contact the essence creator. You could contact me and say, here's how I'm feeling. Here's how I'd like to feel. Any recommendations, you know? But to me, I always do try and encourage people to tune in themselves to the best of their ability, because I feel it's important that they are empowering themselves by doing that. You know, yes, of course you can come to me and ask for recommendations, but I'm probably going to keep pushing you a little bit to pick one yourself, because to me that is part of your empowerment. Stepping into your own power is making the choices for yourself, trusting yourself rather than trusting me saying, yes, this is what you need. Now it's different if it's in a consultation sort of situation where, you know, we're working together for several months and we are, that's a different kind of situation. Then I will be, you know, much more forthcoming in my opinion. If you're just browsing the website and you're looking for yourself, I'm going to say, go by the pictures, glance at the descriptions, but use your heart, you know, use your heart rather than your mind as to what one you need. You might go on saying, I need one for anxiety. Well, maybe your anxiety is coming from the fact that you aren't taking care of yourself. So you might need uplift or flourish or nurture. So you might not need something for anxiety as such, you know, so trusting your heart.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, the images are just absolutely gorgeous. And for people who have not visited your website, then do yourself a favor and have a look. danceswithdragons.com. Be able to find all the information there. And it's really nice to hear a little bit of the background of how your business came into being and the transitions you've gone through, and just hearing a little bit about how these essences come into being, because that is magical.
It is. It really is. And each time that it's one comes into being, it's really just, you know, such a gift. It's such a gift. And I'm just sort of constantly in awe of that gift, you know.
Beautiful. So is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up our chat for today?
Well, just that, you know, I feel we are so blessed to be here at this time, and we have so many tools at our disposal, and I really do feel it's just so lovely to use those tools and make the most joyful, best, fun time that you can have here, the most magical way that you can be here. You know, why wouldn't you do that? Just be the magic, you know, be the magic you came here to be. So
beautiful. Well, and speaking of that, obviously, you know, everyone has, you know, they may be drawn to different things at different times. So anyone watching or listening, I invite you to go and visit danceswithdragons.com and allow yourself to just have a browse through the collections, see which images you're drawn to, and then check in, you know, do those messages that resonate with you. And if so, then treat yourself to experiencing the essences for yourself. And until we meet again, go forth and let joy be your guide to a life that is worth waking up for every day. And Aodaoin, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us. I just love spending time with you, and it's truly a joy. Yeah, to see what you've been creating and sharing in the world. Really a blessing.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. Many joyful blessings.